Because at the end of the day, the two behind me are the ones that matter the most, then the family. We're not going to singularly identify anyone right now, at least publicly. The detectives that have been assigned this, task forces have been assigned this, have talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people. And again, one day we'll be able to tell you why we did that and who did it.
Sheriff Tobe Lesenby says detectives from the FBI, state police, and Carroll County are still working the case. He says investigators hear 50 to 100 tips every day. If the person who did this is watching, what would your message to them be?
We're still going to find you.
Police have arrested and jailed 50-year-old Richard Allen in connection with the double murder.
I am proud to report to you the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder. Good prevails over evil, not the other way around, and we can't let that happen.
They are pointing the finger in a very specific direction as to who's responsible for this, and it's not Richard Allen.
And we still don't know exactly who these folks are, but this is a small community in rural Indiana.
You think Mr. Allen is the man on that bridge?
The judge signed a probable cause affidavit for the arrest of him. I can't wait to tell the story, but today's not the day.
Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please provide me whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in this most urgent matter. Sincerely, Richard M. Allen.
I would say that there's a lot of reason to believe that they are railroading Rick Allen. Eyewitness accounts, false confessions, it's all just hearsay statements. It's speculation as far as I'm concerned. Pseudoscience with the bullet. I mean, it is insulting to your intelligence the way that the case is presented. Law enforcement is super tight-lipped and seems to have ulterior motives. The fix is in for Richard Allen.
I believe that the prosecution kind of needs this to go away, and so it would certainly benefit them if something were to happen to Rick.
I've heard rumors about someone who was dealing drugs, doing dirt, doing crime in town, and some stuff had went bad, and this is retaliation that might have went too far and whatnot.
Me and my son, Logan Holder, had nothing to do with the murder of Abby and Libby. And we don't know who did. I don't know, maybe Bigfoot did it? I think he's in Canada somewhere.
Damn it, this is not okay. And I am sick. I am just so tired and so sick of it. Yeah, what a journey. I'd do it all over again. Through these portals, past the best trained police officers in the world. And that's all being reviewed as we speak.
Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McLeland also cited the integrity of the investigation.
None of us understand why.
What does Allen's defense team say about why they believe Liggett fabricated or omitted evidence?
That Liggett did it for political reasons. Search warrant and the arrest of Allen happened less than a month before the 2022 November elections, when Liggett was campaigning to be the Carroll County Sheriff. Defense team feels that after more than 5 years with very few answers, Liggett rushed into accusing Richard Allen to make a big arrest before the election.
Go tell that midnight rider, tell the gambler, rounder, backbiter, tell the gonna cut him. You may run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time.
I lead by example, and when people want things done, they come to me to get it done. There's been a lot of attacks against my credibility, my integrity, my morals, and my ethics. Those things are all not true. Those are things that I take great pride in, and that's what's going to lead the Sheriff's Department to the future.
Will the double homicide investigation change?
Change in what manner?
Any manner. I mean, break up, move,
there
whatever.
are people that work this, as I said before, that is a top priority case for not just me, it's for the entire Sheriff's Department, it's for the Indiana State Police, it's mostly for the families, the Williams family, the German family. They are what drives us every day, and things are very positive. I'll leave it at that. Things are very positive right now. Nothing would change. We bring people in. We have help. Things are going well. Nothing would change.
With all due respect to Tony, they were not qualified or trained to accept that responsibility of those two girls that got killed at the time. You've got to make contact with people. You've got to follow up. You can't sit back and wait for something to come to you, that one piece of puzzle that's going to solve that case. You've got to work that case. You know, I've seen flip-flopping going back and forth here. When this case first broke, all I heard was, don't be forming any conclusions by what you're reading or seeing on the internet or on Facebook. Now it's flipped over to where if you've had any contact with somebody on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, please contact us. What is it? What do you want? You can't be flip-flopping on these things. It's going to take a fresh set of eyes and somebody that knows.
Somebody knows.
Somebody out there knows something.
Somebody knows.
Back to what Lee was saying, I think a new set of eyes is also important. There's many things that have happened in this case that people are confused about. There's been mistakes made, and I'm not criticizing them, but they're there. All of a sudden now, the age, height, weight, all that's been changed. What's supposed to be on there? But it took this many years to find out that that was made, or that was a mistake. So there's a lot of things that need to be put in place and checked. And I think it's a new set of eyes with experienced people that have been on these kind of crimes before.
I believe in it, but right now is not that day.
It could be today.
It could be tomorrow.
Today's about Abby and Libby, focusing on them.
I don't think there's multiple pieces to the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's one piece, and it's having one individual with the strength.
When this investigation took off, I just didn't see eye to eye with the sheriff on it. I didn't agree with a lot of the things that were being done or being said. At some point, when do you say, okay, enough, well, we got to try something different? I think that's part of the problem and part of the frustration with the public is they beg for your help or they ask for your help, and then they give them a little bit, but then they get nothing in return. And I think that's very frustrating. And that's why the public, not just the Delphi area, but throughout the country that's involved in this case, they're very frustrated by that.
Wish TV has filed requests with the court for the affidavit to be made public. That is common with nearly every criminal case in Indiana. In Thursday's order, Diener went on to write, all public information will be available the second it exists.
It's tough. It's tough for him. I mean, we just spent 20, 30 minutes with Rick, and he misses his wife. He misses human connection with people. So it's been difficult for him.
Richard Allen's defense attorneys say they have read those sealed probable cause affidavits. After the hearing today, though, they told us they are not at all impressed with the case that's been made against their client.
He said, I am not guilty. Thank you for helping us.
They say that revelation by prosecutor Nicholas McClellan that he has reason to believe there was someone else involved in the murders of Abby and Libby came as a shock to everyone, including them.
If you read the probable cause affidavit, it does not mention anything about any other person. That was news to us.
They are adamant that Allen has been wrongfully accused and said he has no idea why any of this is happening.
You guys will read the probable cause affidavit yourselves. You will determine for yourselves whether that is what a 5-year investigation looks like.
When the prosecutor revealed that there may be another person involved, in what capacity we obviously don't know, but when that piece of information came out, could you feel that moment as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everybody just sort of, looked at each other, was like, oh, well, that's the first, I think people had that sense a little bit, but that was the first time it was actually confirmed to us. So yeah, you could just feel everybody sort of look around, gasp almost when that happened.
I'm an attorney, and I have to tell you that's a really strong argument by his defense attorney. After all, if we don't know what's in the affidavit, I mean, how, as the motion points out, no one in the public has seen the probable cause affidavit, so how can we assess whether the allegations against Allen are even strong? A good defense attorney is going to pick right up on that. They're going to point out just what the press is arguing when they're arguing for this to be released, that secrecy breeds this concept, that there is no confidence in the case, that they're still working on it, that this is like a Hail Mary pass arresting this guy. And they're going to argue that if you can't really bring that evidence to bear, then he should be let out on a reasonable bail or on his own recognizance. It's a really good argument. But I think you're right. The most shocking thing that we've learned this morning is that the prosecutor believes there could be another bad actor. That's really not going to breed confidence. Why isn't this other bad actor also under arrest? It's almost sending a message, we're figuring it out as we go. I can play this both ways. I can see why we would want to keep these things sealed. We want to make sure that when this goes to trial, if it goes to trial, that we can get an impartial jury. And yet at the same time, you could get a jury who believes that this is a kangaroo court, that this was an arrest of convenience, that the prosecutor simply felt public pressure to produce somebody, and that maybe they've got the wrong guy.
We now know court records show Allen's initial bond was set at $20 million. We have an online case summary showing past and upcoming court dates. We have a case number, so the public can now follow details and events in the case, instead of being hidden like it has been for the past 6 days since charges were first filed. What we still do not have is the detailed probable cause affidavit, which details why police believe Allen is responsible for the deaths of the 2 Delphi girls. That is supposed to be public, and it's still being kept under seal. The judge says keeping that important document under seal has created a difficult situation for the court. Today, Judge Diener copied 13 News on an email to state court administrators. He wrote, "Just so the world knows, the Carroll Circuit Court consists of me, Benjamin A. Diener, the judge. My court reporter was hired Friday and began Monday. My bailiff answers the phone, has no experience and no knowledge about legal process. Thankfully, there is a court administrator that has experience, but she has duties regarding Carroll Circuit and Carroll Superior Courts. That is it. So, I am begging for some assistance to shield me, the court, from this storm, so that I, the court, can keep running the court."
The judge in the Delphi murders has now taken action and recused himself from presiding over that case.
Karen has the latest. Fill us in, Karen.
Well, Allen County Judge Fran Gull will now take over as the special judge in the Delphi murder case against Richard Allen.
Meanwhile, a state Supreme Court spokesperson says the new judge in this case will be Francis Gull.
It's the courtroom is the place, the arena, so to say, for that to be shared in.
Well, who was there that day, guys? I mean, it didn't happen. I can't believe it. But he's been arrested. Now, obviously, he says he's completely innocent and did not do this. And he gets the presumption of innocence. And his original attorneys, who are fighting tooth and nail on this one and also believe in his innocence, are back on the case, Baldwin and Rosie. These two guys have been very aggressive in their defense of Richard Allen. Not a popular position to be in, right? This is the highest profile case, went unsolved for years, horrific murder, and you're representing the accused killer. You're not going to be popular, but they want in on this case. They want to do it. They believe in his innocence.
Often when police announce the identity of an individual charged with murder, that person has a long criminal history. That is not the case with Richard Matthew Allen. Here's what we know. Allen is 50 years old. He also goes by Rick or Ricky. He's lived in Delphi for at least 16 years, and his home is less than 2 miles from the Monon High Bridge.
The Westfall Correctional Facility is a maximum security prison, generally reserved for convicted criminals. Not people like Richard Allen who are awaiting trial. But his attorneys say Allen is being treated as if he's already been found guilty. In their motion, they say Allen is being held alone in a cell no bigger than a dog kennel, forced to wear soiled and tattered clothes, showering only once or twice a week, and not allowed to see his family.
It seems from the affidavit that police circled back to Allen as a suspect when, quote, investigators reviewing prior tips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard M. Allen in 2017. The affidavit states detectives spoke to Allen again on October 13, 2022. They executed the search warrant the same day and found the gun, which a lab later matched to the unspent bullet found at the scene. So again, why did it take 5 years for them to circle back to Allen?
So basically what we're learning from our reporting is that this delay may have been the result of some sort of clerical error where Allen's name was sort of possibly misfiled, and that prompted there to be a lot of time passing between when he first came on the radar and when they followed up on it.
A clerical error from an FBI civilian employee led to Richard Allen being overlooked as a suspect in 2017, something the FBI disputes. They tell us the implication that a clerical error by an FBI employee led to years of delay in identifying Allen is misleading, and that their review shows FBI employees correctly followed procedure.
There are lots of questions because the Carroll County prosecutor filed a request at the courthouse.
Why is information in this case, why is the probable cause affidavit not released right now?
Once the prosecutor made the decision to do that and the judge signed that document, it took it completely out of our hands. I believe in the probable cause. I've read it multiple times. I believe in that probable cause, and I believe in its outcome.
Didn't know that. I don't know the gentleman personally at all, so definitely I don't know him.
When you heard the name, did you know who that was right off the bat, or did they have to explain, hey, he lived here, he worked at the CVS, or did you already know who he was?
I don't know the guy, did not know him.
We did not know him.
Richard Allen, I don't know of any criminal history that he has. His age, he would not be somebody I would expect to be engaging in this kind of behavior. If he was interested in children that are 12 or 13 years old, I would expect to find that somewhere. So I don't see Richard Allen as a viable suspect. There's no indication that he knew Libby and Abby.
The prosecutor didn't believe that Richard Allen wasn't the only one in this case. So that's one of the main takeaways. Something else to point out, too, he presented the judge 4 pieces of what he considered to be key evidence in this fight to keep these documents sealed. And one of them, the third aspect of this that he submitted, was actually a written letter from Becky Patty. And of course, that's the grandmother of Libby German. That letter was asking the judge and the court to keep those documents sealed. The other thing that the prosecutor submitted today was a petition, and it had more than 40,000 signatures on it from community members who agreed that the documents should be sealed. And one other quote that caught my attention from the prosecutor, a lot of people have been saying, well, it's in the public's interest to release those documents, to unseal them so we know what actually happened. The prosecutor said that is the public interest, finding justice for Libby and Abby.
That it is reasonable to believe that the media will cover this cause of action extensively, and the publicity will prejudice a fair trial. Frankly, where there is any sort of injustice, there will be a spotlight. Specifically pertaining to children, to the murders of 2 children that the country has grown to love and care about, the media is not going anywhere. And I think it's interesting now that there are facts to be revealed. The media is all of a sudden a huge problem when the family has done nothing but encourage their own media spotlight. So I think that's ironic. And it's interesting that now everybody cares about a fair trial for the accused child murderer more than keeping the community safe.
You all will have an innate desire to subjectively interpret and then report what you think. The time will come when additional details can be released. But again, today is not that day.
The prosecutor suggested and argued that the charging records should be maintained confidentially to protect the victims and their family, and to protect the ongoing investigation. The defense argued that the records should be public because in 6 years of a confidential investigation, the public has been very helpful and the public has a right to know, and that if justice is to be served, you need a legitimate criminal process that is open to public oversight.
Now they filed a new document that accuses the case's chief investigator of some serious allegations that Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett fabricated and omitted evidence so he could get search warrants for Allen's home.
Sheriff Tony Liggett applied for the search warrant in October of last year, and it was signed by Judge Benjamin Diener, who eventually recused himself from the case. Allen's attorneys say Liggett fabricated statements of several key witnesses, who he says placed Allen at the trail during the time that Abby and Libby were murdered. The most serious allegation focuses on another witness who described a man in a tan jacket. Liggett changed that witness's statement to say that they saw a man in a blue jacket and that their clothing was bloody.
If you say the officer lied, and if you can show the officer lied, then there's really nothing in that affidavit that you can take at face value. Now you're saying to the judge, this entire document was prepared by a liar. Don't tell that midnight liar.
And I can tell you, First Sergeant Jerry Holman has kind of led this investigation that has so many incredible people involved, but I can assure you that there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't do something with this case.
Oh gosh, yes.
Phone calls, emails, reviewing evidence. You know, he is still, almost 3 years later, actively involved in this investigation.
To experience something of this magnitude, and this is one of those cases that very few agencies in the country could handle. So we've had there's lots of partners.
Right.
You know, Carroll County.
Well, we're actually not even the lead agency.
That's correct.
On paper.
That's right. That's right.
Although we've kind of assumed the perception of that. The Carroll County Sheriff's Department is heading this up, and we're getting assistance from FBI and all the federal agencies.
Right. We've had hundreds of people from the ISP involved in this, and we will continue to as long as I'm here.
And
Who's the lead investigator, though, on this? Is it Carroll County? Is it you guys? Is it everybody?
Yes, it's a task force. We've been in a task force from the very beginning. This event happened in Carroll County, of course, but we've been unified since the very beginning, and we'll maintain that.
FBI too? Are they still involved?
FBI and all federal agencies continue to be available to us.
It took investigators more than 5 years to discover an interview in their files with Richard Allen that led them to arrest the Delphi man for the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German near the Monon High Bridge. A month after Allen's arrest in the fall of 2022, Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin were appointed to defend him and then booted off the case a year later and then reassigned.
The Indiana Supreme Court did not like that decision. They reappointed Allen's original defense team. Those attorneys believe Allen is innocent, and last week they requested an early trial, forcing the judge to set a new trial date within 70 days.
I feel a sigh of relief for, mainly for the families.
This is not a typical, usual homicide investigation, but they all matter. But this one is different. Due process is still a piece of all this puzzle. And this isn't over until it's over. And that's where the conviction of him.
And all of our energy and focus has been towards getting the information to law enforcement so they can make an arrest. Well, now they've done that, and we're now, and we always knew it, but we didn't know what the task would next be. I mean, we knew it was going to be helping the prosecution to get to a, to prosecute it and get to a conviction. So we're still processing that. What's our role going to be there in that? In the prosecutions, how do we continue to help? I said, it was kind of a strange feeling that when they told us, hey, we've got somebody detained and we're going to make an, arrest him. It was like, okay. I guess all that work has started to pay off. We've gotten them the information they need.
So I'm worried that this is just a red herring and that the message it sends is that they don't have a strong case.
And not let it ever be okay to us. Just another day. It can't be another day. It just can't be another day. We've got real problems, and it's this kind of a response, these kinds of families, this kind of a community that will maybe send a message, because this is all about accountability. The time will come when additional details can be released. But again, today is not that day. And not let it ever be okay to us. Just another day. It can't be another day. It just can't be another day. This is really important. While I know you are all expecting final details today concerning this arrest, today is not that day. Today's not that day. Just another day. It can't be another day. It just can't be another day. It could be today.
It could be today.
It could be tomorrow.
How much more video and audio evidence do you have?
I'm not going to talk about what we have that we haven't released. The purpose of this was to talk specifically about the human effect of this and what it's caused over the course of these last 5 years.
But can you confirm there is more evidence out there?
Yes, we have evidence that we've not released. And eventually I want to be able to tell the world what we know, and I believe that we will.
There is a report and some court documents that suggest there's up to 43 seconds of video. Can you confirm that?
I can't. I can't. Again, I'm not going to talk about what we know or about what I think. I must talk about what we know. And there are some things that we know that I just simply cannot release.
If those lawyers are telling the truth in their court filing, well, this story just went nuts. They say that it wasn't this guy. They say it was a ritualistic cult that killed those girls. The defense is suggesting that Abby and Libby were killed by a group of Odinists, which is a Norse cult that has ties to white supremacy. They purportedly practice animal sacrifices and even human sacrifices as a ritual. And the defense says that this was likely a ritualistic killing because of the way the bodies were found.
Tony Liggett and Unified Command attempted to conceal from Judge Diener, and has since even attempted to hide from the defense, that evidence supports that those practicing Odinism were the murderers of Abby and Libby. Tony Liggett swore under oath at his August 8th, 23 deposition that a Purdue professor did not believe that the sticks found on Abby's and Libby's bodies consisted of, quote, runes, end quote. Sergeant Jerry Holman swore under oath at his August 10th, 23 deposition that a Purdue professor said that the sticks found on the girls did not represent, quote, Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of a group that would have conducted the crime, end quote. Dr. Turco discussed how runes were thought to have, quote, magical significance and would be used in incantations, in rituals, and that there is a sacrificial connection in mythological poetry. These were things, again, where somebody who was sort of an Odin, quote, fanboy, end quote, would likely come across. That on September 18th, September 21st, and September 27th, 2023, the state of Indiana made available to the defense a total of 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 disks, and what appeared to be hundreds of pages of paperwork.
New accusations in the Delphi murder case.
Attorneys for the defendant, Richard Allen, say they have new evidence that law enforcement lied and tried to hide information. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel joins us in studio. He's got the new details that were filed today in Carroll County Court. Bob?
Well, defense attorneys are still trying to convince a judge that Richard Allen is not the person who killed 2 teenagers in Delphi. So they say investigators tried to hide evidence that would point toward the murders being part of a ritualistic sacrifice. Richard Allen is charged with killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. His defense team claims it wasn't Allen, but instead people practicing the pagan religion of Odinism. Allen's attorneys say police brushed aside crime scene evidence of a ritual sacrifice after a Purdue professor told investigators there was no evidence to support that theory. But they say a recent interview with that professor contradicts what investigators told the defense just last month. Defense attorneys say the professor told investigators after viewing the pattern of sticks on the girls that it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic rune script possibly associated with Odinism. Allen's lawyers say a Harvard expert backed up that analysis. They claim investigators knew the name of the Purdue professor but tried to hide it from Allen's defense team and misled the Carroll County prosecutor by telling him they did not know the professor's name and whereabouts. So why is all this important? Well, because the defense is trying to get important evidence against Richard Allen suppressed. And to do that, they're arguing investigators misled a judge to get a search warrant of Richard Allen's home. They're now trying to make the case that if investigators allegedly lied about the professor, they're also capable of lying to get a search warrant.
But one thing I can guarantee you, everything we did with a purpose. And I will defend them until my final day. I've never been a homicide detective. I have a pretty good idea that these detectives are going to reset. And they're not going to leave a piece of paper unattended.
On Tuesday, February 14th, 2017, approximately 2 hours after a press conference announcing the discovery of the bodies of Liberty German and Abigail Williams was held at City Hall in Delphi, Indiana, a local resident named Richard Allen phoned a conservation officer whom he knew. The officer was Thomas D. Skinner, who lived in Lafayette, and he was in Delphi assisting in the search for the missing girls that day, having spent his career as a dedicated and well-respected conservation officer for the state of Indiana. Allen met Skinner at the Wallman's grocery store, located northeast of the courthouse in Delphi.
White power Odinists, ritualistic killings, and the possibility that other people might have been involved in the murders.
This is important because Richard Allen doesn't have any ties to Odinism.
What if I take all this stuff off and I'm still a piece of shit?
In the early 2000s, a racist skinhead group called the Vinlanders Social Club, who identified as Odinists, formed in Indiana. That grew to be one of the largest and most hardcore racist skinhead groups in the country. But by the mid-2010s, membership had largely filtered out. Still, others remain entrenched in the state's prison system.
Members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism, hijacked by white nationalists, ritualistically sacrificed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Odinism is the pagan religion referenced above, and its followers are called Odinites. Odinists are enamored of Viking Nordic culture. Evidence supports that at the crime scene. These murdering Odinites left behind obvious signatures, symbols in the forms of runes. These runes were formed with sticks fashioned with tree branches and painted using the blood of Liberty German.
I have spoken to many investigators who were on the scene at the time who say the assumption was they were randomly placed. They did not see a pattern. They didn't see intentionality there. The other interesting thing about these sticks, they did not collect them when they collected evidence from the crime scene.
Whoa, slow down. Sticks are placed on the bodies of the two victims here, and they're not collected as evidence?
They were not collected as evidence until several weeks later, conceivably when this Odinism stuff started to arise within the investigation, and they went back to try to collect those sticks.
Is it a racist organization? I mean,
Nationalist.
Nationalist?
If you want to call that nationalism, call it nationalism. You want to call it skinhead, call it skinhead, and say racist, terrorist, Nazi, whatever.
Odinism in prison is definitely looked upon as a racial group, okay, where they just keep to their own. It's just an organization where you won't see too many or any at all black dudes running with. You ain't gonna see them.
The defense claims that 2 prison guards supervising Allen at the prison are Odinists who have threatened, intimidated, and mentally abused him, including monitoring and recording attorney visits with Allen. The attorney suggested Allen confess to the killings in an April phone call to his wife from prison because he feared his wife would be harmed if he did not. In sworn affidavits, the 2 guards admit that they wore patches on their uniforms that can be associated with Odinism, but they were ordered to remove them by their commander within just the past couple of weeks. Both guards say they do not practice Odinism and they are not part of a radical hate group.
In the motion to compel, it is stated in numerous points that geofencing information showed movements of multiple phones in and around the crime scene were tracked. Geofencing uses GPS, RFID, Wi-Fi, or other cellular data to trigger a pre-programmed action when a mobile device or RFID tag enters or exits a virtual boundary set up around a geographical location.
Is there somebody else out there?
Right now, we've arrested Richard Allen, and that's what the courts have allowed us to do.
It's January. Today, they argue that Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McLeland and the Indiana State Police have been dragging their feet or outright refusing to turn over evidence the defense team thinks could prove their client not guilty, including tracking data of other cell phone users in the vicinity of the murder scene in February of 2017. More information that was found on Libby's cell phone, along with the video of the suspected killer, and details about an investigation into Odinism, after 3 investigators wrote an 80-page report on the potential presence of Nordic ritualism at the crime scene, and the deletion of interviews of adults who knew Abby Williams and were suspected Odinists. The defenders are asking Special Judge Fran Gull to force the state to comb its files and turn over everything it's got, or explain why some evidence doesn't exist, and face sanctions for not providing full compliance.
On the Odin report, that Westfall appears 10 times in pictures that Holder posts on Facebook prior to February 13th, 2017.
It's creepy as hell, nonetheless, to hear about it. But I'd really need to see it, man, beforehand, because I'm actually trying to see what this Odin report actually has in it and how bad he twisted and, pulled stuff just to make that memorandum look the way it did towards me.
We have Mr. Todd Click. When I was detective, I received an extensive amount of training. Mainly focusing in on forensic computer investigations, death investigations, homicide investigations, robbery investigations. I was an investigator for the Indiana Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. A lot of those investigations were not only done here in Rushville, but the southeastern part of Indiana. A lot of child molest, child exploitation cases. I went through a week-long training in St. Louis, Missouri on suspicious death and homicide investigations. Received some training from some of the top homicide investigators in the United States. And then when I became assistant chief, gears kind of switched a little bit, and a lot more human resource training, internal affairs investigations training, things of that.
Over the course of the last 3+ years, we, people dressed like me, have been criticized, scrutinized, evaluated, and reviewed. My profession has never been in a lower place. I've said before, and will say again, on the local and national stages, that law enforcement officers are not without sin. And we deserve some of the criticism we've received.
When all this was being litigated in terms of them trying to get him moved, and we first heard about these guards using the camcorder to photograph and to videotape the attorney visits, and it was a situation where we were not made aware that they were turning him towards the window so that they could see his mouth. So, and as a criminal defense attorney, that's like me being able to talk to my client is sacrosanct in terms of privacy when I'm trying to prepare for trial. If I think that guards are even anywhere near earshot, I'm not talking at all. And I'm telling my client not to talk at all about anything substantive with the case. But your question's a fascinating one, because I would definitely 100% be trying to get it tossed out as well as through the poisonous tree, because it all stems from that warrant. If you don't have the warrant, you don't have the bullet. And then the question becomes, is mere presence at the bridge, which he volunteered that information, is that enough for the warrant to stand? That's ultimately what Judge Gull, presuming that these women come in and testify, we're talking about the witnesses, that they say, hey, Liggett lied. This is what we said, and this is what Liggett put in his affidavit. It's clearly a lie. And if Gull says, okay, well, I'm going to pull those out, does the warrant still have enough probable cause to stand on its own 2 feet?
Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin issued a press release not too long into their getting the case, and they said they believe that Richard Allen is innocent. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do. I don't think Mr. Allen had anything to do with this. I honestly don't.
You're a defense attorney, so that's your job to sort of say your client is innocent. Is that something you say about all your clients?
No, and rarely do I believe it. But in this particular case, I believe it 100%.
And what convinced you?
Conversations with him, the fact that he lived in this very small community that's not much bigger than a high school. He worked at the CVS in Delphi. The police sketches are hung up in the CVS. The bridge guy picture is in the CVS. And in 5.5 years, no one comes into that store and says that kind of looks like you. And I don't know if this has any relevance, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but an arrest was made 27 days before a sheriff election. Just my humble opinion that played some kind of role in his arrest. He has no criminal record. They raided his house, took all of his social media. There's no ties to this Odinistic cult whatsoever. He didn't even know that there was Odinist in Delphi. He had never heard of it. Just a lot of things don't make sense.
Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin also said that that there's no electronic evidence linking him to the crime scene or the girls, and that there's no DNA of his at the scene. Is that accurate?
Yes.
You had not heard of Odinism when it first was floated with regard to this case?
I honestly thought, I was like, no disrespect to Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie, because they're excellent lawyers. I thought it was hocus pocus. I honestly didn't, I'd never heard of it. And the more I got into it, that's a real thing. It is a real thing, and it's scary.
It was difficult enough for Abby and Libby trying to get justice for these two young girls and solving the case. It took more than 5 years to arrest and charge someone who, like, on the second day of the investigation, they knew was there, and they never followed up on it. It's unreal. But now Richard Allen has been charged, and his trial, he's asking for a speedy trial. He wants his trial, claiming his innocence, saying it's the Odinists that did it.
Amber told law enforcement the following. Brad spoke of Patrick one time when he was intoxicated and said that he and Patrick got into a fight and they no longer speak to each other. He told her that he and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something that the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together. He also told her that Patrick had killed a lot of people, and it didn't matter if they were innocent or not. Amber truly believes Brad is scared of Westfall. She took a lie detector test, and he told her that you were responsible for the murders. That's what they put in the memorandum.
Yeah, I didn't know she was taking a lie detector test. I know that she did make that statement. Something about she was asking about me, trying to find out information. It kind of blew me away when I read that. I had no idea this whole time, since the start of this stuff in Delphi, all the way up to the memorandum was released. I had no idea that man ever even made a statement about me. But I mean, and if she said it and that's the words out of his mouth and it was verified by polygraphs and stuff, you know, I ain't going to say anything about what she said, but it just blows me away that Brad would even go and tell people about that. When we got into it, it was at my house in my living room. It wasn't out in the woods doing some ceremony by a river. He was starting to be untruthful about a lot of stuff. I would hear stories from people about how, you know, he would claim to save my life in Afghanistan on numerous occasions, diving on me in guard towers while rockets were flying through, just off the wall crap. And one day his boy texted one of my kids and said, well, we're running late today. We'll be there in a little bit. And it's because we're at church. And so from there, I confronted him at my house about the whole church issue, going to church and then coming to my house and playing Also True, and told him, man, you know, can't be in both worlds with me, dude.
I mean, seriously. I mean, if you're going to confront me, just leave social media out of it. You know, come confront me like a man.
Did you ever suspect him of having any involvement in the crime? Did you ever think like, oh, well, maybe Brad Holder might, you know?
I don't know.
Prosecutor Nicholas McClelland said in court on Tuesday that he believes Allen did not act alone. A former FBI agent who worked on the investigation told me he wasn't surprised.
So during the investigation when I was there, we were still open to any, whether it be one person or multiple people.
We still don't know exactly who these folks are. Bob, in a year and a half or so, I'll finish my 40th year. I've never seen anything like this in my entire career. I think one of the reasons is because it's captured the attention of the world, because it's Everytown USA. It's Everytown USA. It's your daughter and it's mine. It's her friend and it's my daughter's friend. I think that's one of the reasons that it's captured the attention of really the globe. And this is, I think, one of the reasons it has such a global interest is because this is every small town in America. Yeah, and that's true.
That's the one thing that came out this morning that I was not expecting as a criminologist or as an attorney. And let's look at that one sentence Barbara just read one more time. The prosecutor has good reason to believe that Allen is not the only actor in this heinous crime. What? If there is somebody else, and a good reason, okay, apparently not enough probable cause to make an arrest. And if we're going to be looking for Richard Allen to be convicted with proof beyond a reasonable doubt, then we just kind of introduced some lovely reasonable doubt that Richard Allen may not be guilty, may not be entirely guilty, had an accomplice. From a criminology perspective, this would be highly unusual. If you're talking about somebody who would be a co-defendant, that he did not act alone in murdering these two young ladies, that would be on one side of the spectrum. The other side is just that we're talking about somebody who may have destroyed evidence, who knew and didn't turn him in. It could be that the bad actor, it doesn't even say bad actor, just another actor. So I'm worried that this is just a red herring and that the message it sends is that they don't have a strong case. Statistically, this guy acted alone, most likely. And if they've got the evidence, they should be proud of it and they shouldn't be afraid to release it.
I think that's what everybody expects. So on one hand, we say to the media, thank you, and I really do mean that, for keeping this front and center, not just nationally, but even globally. But then the other side is when you have questions, we can't answer them. So I understand that frustration. I really, truly do. Right now, he's the one that's been that's now facing murder charges. So again, we are not going to stop looking at other people until this is completely done and we have nothing left to do. We're going to look back on this and probably realize, dang it, I wish we'd have done A, B, and C rather than D and E. Right. But now's not the time for us to change that strategy and talk about everything that we know. Over time, it was important that we kept talking about this. Information, everybody expects everything to be solved through science today, and that's just always not the case. The human impact has been really, really fascinating to watch. And again, we didn't have a playbook here.
After 5 frustrating years, this man, Richard Allen, was arrested for killing both girls. Allen admitted being in the area that day, and prosecutors say a bullet found at the scene was forensically connected to his gun. One problem: Abby and Libby were not shot.
I don't understand, maybe they did this, maybe they didn't, as to why they didn't run all of the surrounding gun stores of 40 caliber type weapons, because I have solved a number of murders that way, because typically people who commit crimes like this have purchased a weapon legally and they have purchased it someplace close to their residence.
I don't necessarily encourage them to go out there without permission because it is private property, and sometimes we overstep our welcome or our boundaries there. So, but if you did it the right way and somebody finds something and they do it the right way and they contact police right away so we can collect it properly, then I would say, yeah, it could be beneficial.
I spent a couple of weeks out here shortly after, just scanning the woods and creek banks and looking for clues, items, anything I could find that would possibly help catch this guy.
The bullet evidence critical to the case against Richard Allen is based on dubious scientific methods and lacks a proper chain of custody. This absence undermines the evidence's credibility. A bullet was found buried 2 inches deep and was discovered 3 weeks later by a hiker near the crime scene. The controversy surrounding the bullet deepens due to the actions of law enforcement. After the hiker reported the discovery, law enforcement asked her to send a photo via text. She complied, and only afterwards was she instructed to deliver the bullet to the command center. Following her compliance, law enforcement immediately returned to the crime scene. This is very problematic when we consider that Jerry Holman told Richard Allen, and I quote, "And I'm telling you that we had this round on February 14th, 2017, and it's been secured in a laboratory, and we've tested other guns." Holman then states the bullet was logged and photographed. Okay, then hand over the documents of chain of custody to the defense.
Indiana State Police announces promotion of First Sergeant Jerry Holman to Lieutenant. Okay, that's unexpected based on what we saw, but apparently that is what's going on here.
The confession could be explained, the bullet is compromised, the witness accounts are inconsistent, and not one witness can positively identify Richard Allen as being at the scene of the crime at the time the girls were killed. The FBI thought Ron Logan was involved.
The biggest reason to suspect Ron Logan was not just that the bodies were found on his property, but that he had created a false alibi prior to the bodies being discovered. That's huge. The FBI also claimed that Ron Logan's cell phone pinged twice near the crime scene on the evening of the 13th. So that, to me, is very suspicious.
It's too late for Ron Logan. He's dead.
A probable cause affidavit explains why someone is charged with a crime, and the law says that document must be publicly filed once the charge takes place. But in this case, that is not happening.
The probable cause and the charging information has been sealed by the court.
The prosecutor says he asked a judge to keep the document under seal because the investigation is ongoing and investigators want more tips from the public.
It is surprising.
Novella Needeth spent 2 decades as a public defender and now teaches law at Indiana University. She says she's never heard of a prosecutor keeping a probable cause affidavit secret in such a high-profile case. She says releasing the information helps ensure due process for the defendant and allows the public to ask important questions. In this case, both of those things are in jeopardy because the case is essentially being kept secret.
So as we know, the probable cause affidavit for the arrest of Richard Allen was being withheld by the prosecution as it was under seal until yesterday when a special judge, Fran Gull, ruled on the release of the document with redactions. The PCA is an 8-page document, and we received 7 of those pages with all witnesses redacted. I have quite a few issues with this document, not only in the way that it is written, but the nature of the evidence that was used to put Allen behind bars. I find it to be subjective, and in the words of Allen's attorneys, flimsy, boring, and disappointing. They certainly were not bluffing when they made those remarks. I was hoping this affidavit would include some objectivity and factual evidence, but all we really got were inconsistent witness statements from a group of juveniles and other redacted witnesses, and subjective opinions of investigators that were frankly unsubstantiated by facts. The bullet evidence is shaky and subjective as conceded in the document, and it's frankly written in a very word salady manner. I think this information could have been presented in a much more concise and professional manner.
This investigation is far from complete.
As Mr. Allen is now without counsel, I've ordered him transported back to the Department of Correction. Obviously, without counsel, Mr. Allen's hearing cannot proceed.
It was a very personal moment for me, and I think it was a very personal moment for them, for all of us that have had interaction with the family. We developed a relationship that I think is going to last at least one lifetime, and maybe a second. So it was a very, very, very sad yet a very humbling experience.
We found them, they'd been missing. We'd suspended the search at nighttime, started up again the next morning.
No inclination right now as to the fact that this is some big cover-up. This is not a Lifetime movie or any other major media outlet where it's just a cut and dry cover-up. We don't feel that way for the most part.
They could be covering something up.
I've had those conversations with people before, and I'll keep those are private conversations. I promise you on lives of two people that are most important to me in my lifetime, and that is my daughter and my wife. That's not happening. While I'm here, there will be nothing of the like. Mm-hmm. And that's just a rumor, and that, today in today's world, it's easy to say something like that, but take a step back and think about what it would mean for that to actually occur. Mm-hmm. And it's just not.
Yeah, and I think the reason people think it is because there's a couple cases specifically that I'm working on that I post a lot about, but there is a lot of police corruption. And I think there are in other places, but I definitely don't think there is any here. Or at least in our case, maybe there are in other places.
And so you're answering their questions, and you're answering these things. And then maybe something would come up that make you stop and think, and so I would go back and do some digging later. The problem is once you say something, you can't say anything different.
They'll nail you.
We're not allowed to be like a police investigation. We're not allowed to uncover something else, because if something else comes out, heaven forbid, we're covering up or changing our stories or whatever.
Even the notion that there would be even the perception of a cover-up. We never can accept the way it is. Our citizens deserve better, and we all know what has to happen. We all know what has to happen. And as I sunset in my career, I am not going to leave it as broken as I see it.
While RICO was originally aimed at the mafia, over the past 37 years, prosecutors have used it to attack many forms of organized crime. Street gangs, gang cartels, corrupt police departments, and even politicians. Another aspect of RICO is that if one person in an organization is tied to the crime, everyone may likewise be tied to that same crime. However, RICO does not apply to all crimes. A violation of RICO occurs when a person in connection with an enterprise engages in a pattern of racketeering activity. Racketeering activity includes arson, bribery, counterfeiting, distribution of a controlled substance, embezzlement, extortion, gambling, homicide, kidnapping, mail fraud, money laundering, robbery, wire fraud, and witness tampering.
Reinstatement of the original defense team, Bradley, Rosie, and Andrew Baldwin. Richard Allen also looking to have the judge removed from the case, Judge Frangall, removed from the case, and he wants his speedy trial. He wants a trial within 70 days. I mean, that trial was supposed to be happening right now. If the original attorneys did not get tossed off, that trial would be happening right now, and that's what Richard Allen wants. He doesn't like being in prison. He doesn't like hanging out with the Odinism guards, and he doesn't like being locked up, and he says he's innocent.
Richard Allen has been in prison for more than 16 months, charged with the murders of Delphi teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German. His attorneys believe Allen is innocent, so they want his trial to begin as soon as possible. That's why they filed this motion that requires the judge to set a speedy trial date. Once this motion is filed, state rules say a trial must be commenced no later than 70 calendar days from the date of the motion, unless there's a delay due to congestion of the court calendar or an emergency, or if the defendant is released from jail pending the start of the trial. Those delays are unlikely because Allen is charged with such serious crimes. And Special Judge Frances Gall has been granted permission to bring in other judges to hear her cases in Allen County so she can focus on the trial in Delphi.
Really, the judge, no holds barred, really. She says what she wants to say when she wants to say it. The defense is being polite and professional, but at the same time, you can almost feel the animosity in between there.
What are we going to see? The way we're looking at Richard Allen, who looked so healthy when he was first arrested, and now he's emaciated. Will he live long enough to see his trial?
When, in my estimation, the state was getting their butt handed to them by these two defense attorneys, and like the memo or not, that's what a defense of a guy that you believe is innocent looks like. Are You ready? You ready, Nikki?
Doug, why is the profession in its lowest place that you've ever seen? What tells you that?
I think no matter what we do, we're wrong. And we're guilty until we prove ourselves innocent. And guys like me should be the ones held accountable for inappropriate actions by the rank and file. And I make every single attempt to do that and be as transparent as I can. We are human beings, we're not machines. We have families and kids and struggles and challenges and all the things that everybody else has, but yet we're expected to be something other than human. Please be patient. Become our partners and communicate with us as often as you can. I welcome that criticism. I welcome that criticism. You're going to hear more in just a minute about what we know. Somebody knows who this murderer is. Somebody knows. I can't explain all the things that I know.
That's because only police and the killer know.
I do believe someone out there does know something, but they don't know they know it.
I still believe somebody knows.
The initial word that popped into my mind was pride. I have a lot of pride for not only our folks, but every individual that's committed to this investigation.
Some of these individuals have postponed retirement, passed on promotional opportunity, have dedicated personal time away from their families, given up nights, weekends, and holidays, all while in the pursuit of accountability for Abby and Libby.
Judge Frances Gall said that she will not step down from the Delphi murders case. The defense team has questioned her ability to be impartial, and they requested that she step aside.
New today, defense attorneys for Richard Allen claim that some crucial evidence in the case is missing, and now they want the entire case against Allen tossed out.
So our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel is here live in studio to sort all this out for us. And Bob, what evidence is in question in this case, and why could this potentially be so very important?
Well, this is the document that was filed today. It is a motion to dismiss murder charges against Richard Allen because of missing audio and video evidence that the attorneys say was destroyed. And they say that evidence could have been used to show Allen did not commit murder. Allen's lawyers claim 2 other people were involved in the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. Their motion says the FBI interviewed those 2 men just a few days after the bodies of the Delphi teenagers were discovered in 2017. Allen's defense team received a summary of those interviews. They requested recordings containing the full interviews, but they were told those recordings do not exist. Late last month, the defense attorneys learned why. They were told due to a DVR program error discovered in September 2017, all recordings up to February 20th, 2017 were recorded over. The defense team says that means the videotaped interviews were deleted by the police, and they say it's unknown what other interviews were deleted during the relevant time frames in the first week following the murders. They say they believe the deleted recordings would contain evidence that could support Allen's defense, including showing inconsistencies in what the other suspects told police when they were interviewed. The defense attorneys also claim police had prepared search warrants for those other men's cell phones, but there's no evidence that the warrants were ever served. For all those reasons, the defense team wants the judge to dismiss the murder charges against Allen because they say the missing evidence violates his constitutional right to due process. It's just the latest claim that could result in this murder case later going to appeal, where it would be scrutinized for errors and possible misconduct.
You're right. I took a $4.5 polygraph. I gave DNA. They didn't subpoena me. They didn't force me to come in there. I did it willingly. I walked into a damn lockdown facility, a place that you're not getting back out of until they want you to come back out of it. to help out in any way, shape, or form that I could and put any thoughts to rest that there might be there.
We were all told from the beginning there was no DNA in this case. So when he asked me for DNA, I'm like, so you guys did have DNA in this case, or otherwise you wouldn't be asking for fucking mine. I said that also begs the question, the hell you do with Richard Allen in jail? If you're still looking for other people's DNA, that must mean you had DNA in the case and his didn't match.
But in my heart of hearts, he cared about her in the time that they knew each other, and their family experienced a difficult time because of what had happened here, because they were questioned extensively. But yes, there was a boy, and he's doing quite well and is moving forward in life.
Don't know who killed him. Please leave my family alone.
I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous. This is live. As I stand here before you, I just cannot help that we're all bad. It's my job to take care of you. But since I did not, how do you deal with conflict with a person that doesn't look like you? I really wish over time I would have cataloged and documented. But since I did not, all of these examples should have been a clear sign to me that we're all bad. I will never forget one person saying to me, "Superintendent, when was the last time you were ever in a room and no one looked like you?" Never. I also learned that day that I do see color, especially those that don't look like me. I do not and will not apologize. I will not stand here and offer excuses. You deserve better than that.
Austin True is a cult. Christianity is a cult. Judaism is a cult. I mean, if one's a cult, they're all a cult. I'm going to say whatever I need to say and as loud as I want to say it. And I want to stand here just unbelievably unapologetic about it, because it's not me they hate. And you go figure out what it is and move on with it. Paint the picture differently than the guy who's crouched in the corner with snarling fangs and teeth and shit, like what he did to me, what is going on with my kids, friends and family, the shit he caused at my job. There's entire shifts threatening to do some walkout and call corporate and do some big staged walkout if they don't get this pagan cult leader killer and shit out of the building. Like, hating everything I see, from going out windows and horrible accidents on my motorcycle, dressed in all black, ready to bust people's heads wide open. And it happened a lot. And they sit and discuss it and talk, and they stand around and sing and chant.
I mean, this has been years, okay? I don't know who did it. I honestly don't know. I wish they would catch him. It'd be nice. Maybe you people would leave me the hell alone.
Right.
Last thing I need to be is labeled even more of a domestic terrorist.
This is live. As I said early on, there was no playbook. But we have one now.
Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McLeland also cited the integrity of the investigation.
And that's why all of us have a little bit of piece of the puzzle here, or a piece of the pie, or whatever. I want to meet with Mike and Becky and Anna, and I want to tell them we did it. That's what I want to tell them.
Now, to sit here and unpack all the lies the people surrounding this case have publicly told would take me hours, and most of them have already been discussed on my channel. But to quickly summarize, the family's timeline of that day, or even the weekend before, have never been confirmed or endorsed by law enforcement, and it is entirely fabricated to give everyone a convenient alibi. The details of their stories have changed countless times, from the varying reports of the existence of sweatshirts, though Libby's bolo did not mention a sweatshirt, to the 10 to 20 kids Kelsey saw when supposedly dropping the girls off at the trails. They will try to dismiss any inconsistency as just them learning more information and magically remembering new details. They have made calculated moves to adjust and promote their narrative to avoid scrutiny and ultimately prosecution. They have intentionally muddied the waters under the guise of noble activism from a grieving family, despite never having been cleared from this investigation. They traveled the nation, went on Dr. Phil, Megyn Kelly, Dr. Oz, countless crime con conventions to spread the image of Bridge Guy far and wide, despite law enforcement publicly stating they believe the killer is from their 3,000-person community. They have attacked, bullied, and censored anyone who asks any questions about the many inconsistencies in their tale.
Help us to capture the person responsible for these murders.
Yeah. First time I saw this, the first thing and the only thing that came into my mind was Odin hanging himself from the tree of the 9 realms, and so he could drink from one of the wells at the bottom that were, to get the power of the runes. Oh, that's the downward. Is that not Anzum's?
That's what it looks like.
It's creepy as hell that drawing was there. And if it's anything close to what the defense is saying, that is some creepy shit.
Right.
And it definitely should be looked into. There ain't no joke about it.
Okay, fact one. I was at work in Buffalo, Indiana, at Liberty Landfill when the murders occurred. Fact two. My son was at school when the murders occurred. Right here in Logansport.
We have dark days ahead in this country. We must not turn our citizens off, turn our citizens against us because of criticism, because some of that criticism we have earned, and we own it. Because somebody out there knows. I can't explain all the things that I know.
We don't want the killer to know that what we know.
He has no idea what we know, but one day he will. What we know and what we don't know. What only the killer would know that we know. And you want to know what we know. Somebody knows.
Somebody does know.
Somebody
Absolutely.
knows. No one will ever know. No one will ever know.
So when it comes to corruption, there can be no compromise. It must be exposed and rejected at every turn.
We don't know who did it, so please leave us alone.
Not have to worry about the boogeyman coming to their door because they took boogeymen like me and sent them to other people's doors. And it's just going to be problem after problem for the rest of my life. And at this point, I'm just going to have to do the best I can to dodge it. Sleight of hand, bud. David Copperfield made a lot of money with it. David Blaine made a lot of money with it. Sleight of hand.
I'm still going to be known as the pagan cult leader killer Delphi.
You think I'm the murderer because I'm wearing his hat, right? Well, how about this hat? Does this hat trigger you?
What is unfolding in Indiana exemplifies what the framers of the American Constitution sought to prevent. Unbridled power. They knew that power could erode objectivity, honesty, and integrity. The reach and authority of the government are immense and far-reaching, but they are not infallible. They are comprised of humans, and humans are prone to corruption. History is replete with examples where the combination of flawed individuals and unchecked power has led to catastrophic outcomes. The presumption of innocence is a cornerstone of any justice system. It means exactly what it says. The accused is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof lies entirely with the state, not with the accused, and it does not lie with the accusers, nor does it lie with the accused supporters or the kangaroo court of public opinion. Richard Allen, like anyone accused of a crime, deserves a fair trial free from bias and hasty conclusions. Richard Allen typically parked at the old CPS building or the Mears entrance, though he eventually stopped using the Mears entrance due to parking enforcement. This brings us to a perplexing point. Can we reconcile the image of a man so cunning and ruthless as to commit a double homicide with someone who is simultaneously so cautious about where he parks? This dichotomy raises essential questions about the narrative being constructed around Richard Allen. It seems incongruous that someone capable of such a heinous act would also be meticulous about avoiding minor parking infractions. This detail, while seemingly minor, underscores the complexity and inconsistencies in the case against him. Despite having solid legal representation but less than a year of preparation for his trial, Allen, an unconvicted citizen, has been held in maximum security and solitary confinement for 23 hours a day for over 2 years. His Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial has seemingly been disregarded without an evidentiary hearing, sworn witness testimony, or due process. This right, guaranteed by the Constitution, has been effectively nullified with a mere stroke of a pen by a compromised human. Without a conviction, without substantiation, his fundamental rights have been stripped away on what appears to be a whim. And yet there he sits at the Wabash Correctional Facility, placed there by the system without explanation, experiencing the same harsh conditions, isolated and posing no threat to anyone. Consider the evidence, or rather, the lack thereof. The police do not have Allen's DNA, fingerprints, blood type, footprints, a clear picture of the perpetrator's face, or even a definitive height of the suspect. There is no link to the girls. There is no link to friends of the girls. There are no links to Keegan Kline or Tony Kline. There are no links to CSAM. No link to Anthony Schatz. No identifying footprints at or near the crime scene. No fingerprints. No usable DNA. No other video. No proof that the girls crossed the creek. No proof that the crime happened between 2:30 and 3:30 on the 13th. There is absolutely nothing whatsoever besides a planted bullet. That's it. Moreover, critical recordings of key witness interviews have been purposefully deleted. 70 days, to be exact. Exculpatory evidence was withheld until it became apparent that there was knowledge of potential Odinist involvement. Witness statements have been falsified and lied about. Tony Liggett's role in the probable cause affidavit, PCA. Tony Liggett, a key figure in the investigation, stands accused of providing misleading information in the PCA to fit a specific timeline. It's a known fact that Liggett lied in his PCA, further undermining the credibility of the document and the investigation as a whole. He has also been outright accused of lying and manipulating eyewitness accounts to suit his own agenda. Furthermore, it's a known fact that Liggett and Jerry Holman lied in depositions. These discrepancies have raised serious questions about the investigation's direction and integrity. These factors collectively highlight significant gaps and willful actions in the investigation. In light of these discrepancies and the lack of definitive physical evidence, maintaining a belief in Richard Matthew Allen's guilt becomes increasingly difficult for any sane person. Meanwhile, they blatantly ignore glaring inconsistencies in witness descriptions, law enforcement behavior, and the complete lack of any tangible physical evidence linking Allen to the crime scene. According to the police, here are the facts of this case, and these are facts. A video allegedly shows a male walking on a bridge. A male voice says, "Guys, down the hill." The video ends. The girls are subsequently found dead on Ron Logan's property on February 14th, 2017, around 12:15 p.m. Those are the absolute known facts about the murders. Everything else is conjecture, speculation, and hypothetical. In their idiotic hands, justice is reduced to a farce, a clown show. Even more despicable, they revel in their role in the court of public opinion, where they can play judge, jury, and executioner without any responsibility. They have no regard for due process or the principle of innocent until proven guilty. For them, guilt is determined by who can shout the loudest, spin the most sensational story, or misrepresent case evidence. Their legacy is one of chaos and injustice. They've turned this case into their personal circus, making a mockery of the actual victims. Their involvement in the Delphi case is not just unhelpful, it is a travesty of epic proportions. As long as they dominate the narrative, the true pursuit of justice is not just compromised, it's actively undermined. Judge Gold's blatant bias and misconduct warrant her removal from the bench, as her actions undermine the integrity of the legal system and compromise the rights of defendants. Additionally, there must be a complete federal investigation into Superintendent Carter, Holman, Liggett, Abbott, McClelland, Leesenby, and the handling of the Richard Matthew Allen case. Any allegations of corruption, misconduct, or unethical behavior must be thoroughly investigated to ensure accountability and uphold the principles of justice. It's imperative that we restore trust in our legal institutions and ensure that all individuals are treated fairly and impartially under the law. The evidence pointing to a cover-up in the Richard Matthew Allen case is undeniable. It's not simply a matter of procedural errors or investigative mishaps. Rather, it speaks to a more sinister agenda at play. The motive behind these murders and the individuals responsible are being shielded by the very government institutions that are supposed to uphold justice and protect citizens. This is a gross betrayal of the public trust and a violation of the fundamental principles of democracy. The government's role is to serve the interests of the people, not to protect criminals and perpetuate injustice. It's clear that there are powerful forces at work here, manipulating the legal system for their own nefarious purposes. We cannot stand idly by while the rights of innocent individuals are trampled upon and justice is denied. It's time for accountability, transparency, and a thorough investigation into the corruption and cover-up surrounding this case. The truth must be brought to light, and those responsible must be held accountable for their actions. Anything less would be a travesty of justice and a stain on the integrity of our legal system. This moment calls for decisive action and an unwavering commitment to justice. Today, it's Richard Allen. Tomorrow, it could be any one of you.